In this video, we'll explore 15 battles that shaped the history of Westeros, from dragonfire clashes to epic power struggles. Number 1. Battle of the Dawn. The Battle of the Dawn is a legendary conflict that took place thousands of years before the events of A Song of Ice and Fire. It marked the end of the Long Night, a period of darkness and winter that lasted a generation, during which the White Walkers, also known as the Others, emerged from the far north. The First Men and the Children of the Forest joined forces to fight against the White Walkers in this final cataclysmic battle. According to legend, the last hero, aided by the mysterious figure known as the Azor Ahai, or the Prince that was promised, played a crucial role in driving back the White Walkers, ultimately forcing them to retreat to the lands of Always Winter. It was discovered in this battle that weapons made of dragon glass could kill the White Walkers. After this battle, the people of Westeros decided to build the Wall and establish the Night's Watch. Number 2. Field of Fire. The Field of Fire was the most decisive battle in Aegon's conquest of Westeros, and the only time all three Targaryen dragons fought together. As the Allies' charge began to break through the Targaryen spear lines, Aegon and his sisters took to the skies on their dragons, Balerion, Meraxes, and Vhagar. The dragons unleashed their flames, setting the dry field on fire from all sides, particularly upwind of the Gardener and Lannister armies. Meanwhile, Lord Muten's Targaryen forces, positioned safely upwind, finished off the surviving Allied soldiers who emerged from the Inferno. The dragons killed 4,000 soldiers from the Lannister and Gardener army. Another 1,000 men fell to swords, spears, and arrows, while 10,000 more suffered severe burns. King Mern and all his sons, grandsons, brothers, and cousins were killed. The Knights of the Order of the Green Hand were annihilated, and Lord Armyn Peake and his sons also perished. Number 3. Burning of Harrenhal. House Hoare, led by King Harren the Black, had controlled the Iron Islands and the Riverlands for 3 generations. Harren's reign was marked by his ambitious project to build Harrenhal, the largest castle in Westeros, which took nearly 40 years and caused great suffering due to its construction. Initially, Aegon Targaryen, during his conquest, offered to spare Harren the Black and confirm him as Lord of the Iron Islands if he surrendered. Harren, confident that his castle's stone would not burn, refused. "I built in stone. Stone does not burn." To that, Aegon replied, "When the sun sets, your line shall end." That night, Aegon flew Balerion over Harrenhal and used the dragon's flames to burn the castle, melting its stone towers and destroying everything inside. Harren and his sons perished in the largest tower, later known as Kingspire Tower, marking the end of House Hoare. Number 4. Battle at Rook's Rest. The battle occurred when Sir Criston Cole, the hand of the king to Aegon II Targaryen, lured the forces of Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen into a devastating trap. Rhaenys Targaryen, known as the Queen Who Never Was, arrived at Rook's Rest with her dragon Meleys to support Lord Staunton, who was defending the castle. However, Criston had prepared for this, and soon after Rhaenys arrived, King Aegon II and his brother, Prince Aemond, attacked her with their dragons, Sunfire and Vhagar. The 3 dragons fought fiercely in the sky above the battlefield. Meleys managed to wound Sunfire, but Vhagar struck from above, causing all 3 dragons to crash to the ground. Meleys was killed, Sunfire was severely injured, and Aegon II suffered grave injuries. Rhaenys was found dead beside her dragon. After the battle, Aemond and Criston Cole took Rook's Rest, killing Lord Staunton and his men. Number 5. Battle of the Trident. This is the legendary battle that shapes the future of the Seven Kingdoms since the long-lasting rule of the Targaryen house for nearly 3 centuries. In Robert Baratheon's previous campaigns, he had successfully moved his main army north from the Stormlands, aligning with allies in the North, Vale, and Riverlands. As the rebels regrouped, Rhaegar Targaryen, who had sparked the war by allegedly abducting Lyanna Stark, amassed loyalist forces in King's Landing and marched north to confront Robert's army. The battle took place near the Ruby Ford along the Trident River and became a turning point in the rebellion. Robert Baratheon, the towering leader of the rebellion, faced Crown Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, the golden son of the Mad King. The 2 armies clashed fiercely at the Trident, with the battle initially undecided until Robert Baratheon struck a decisive blow by killing Rhaegar Targaryen with his warhammer. Rhaegar's death, occurring at a river fork where his armor's rubies were shattered, led to the site being named the Ruby Ford. The Targaryen forces, including all 10,000 Dornish troops and Prince Lewin Martell, were annihilated, and Barristan Selmy was severely injured and captured. The rebels suffered heavy casualties, but fewer than the loyalists. The defeat at the Trident marked the beginning of the end for the Targaryen dynasty. Number 6. Battle of the Whispering Wood. This was a key engagement during the War of the Five Kings, marking Robb Stark's rise as a strategic leader in the fight against the Lannisters. The battle occurred in a densely wooded area known as the Whispering Wood, which provided the Stark forces with a tactical advantage to lay an ambush. Robb Stark sends Brynden Tully and a small force to lure Jaime Lannister from his camp at River Run. Jaime Lannister, expecting an easy victory, follows Brynden north of the Tumblestone into a trap set in a forested valley. Robb's forces are strategically positioned. Lady Maege Mormont and Lord Jason Mallister to the east, Lord Rickard Karstark to the north, Sir Stevron Frey to the west, and Lord Greatjon Umber across a ridge. Lady Catelyn Stark, protected by 30 guards led by Hallis Mollin, waits on a ridge. Using the cover of the trees, Robb's forces surrounded the Lannister army, cutting off their escape routes. The battle was swift and decisive, with the Stark forces overwhelming the Lannisters. Jaime Lannister himself was captured. The capture of Jaime also provided the Starks with a valuable bargaining chip, though it would have far-reaching consequences as the war progressed. Number 7. Battle of the Blackwater. The Battle of the Blackwater, the largest conflict in the War of the Five Kings, pits the forces loyal to King Joffrey Baratheon against those of his uncle, Stannis Baratheon. On the brink of defeat against Stannis' formidable forces at King's Landing, after suffering countless losses since the Battle of Winterfell, the Lannisters, under Tyrion Lannister's cunning leadership, readied a game-changing surprise. The battle begins with Stannis Baratheon's fleet, led by Sir Imry Florent, advancing up the river to engage King Joffrey's ships. Confident in their superiority and without sending scouts, Florent attacks immediately, leaving some of his galleys in Blackwater Bay. His fleet is arranged into 10 lines, with the front lines consisting of war galleys and the rear lines including smaller Myrish ships. As Stannis' fleet moves forward, they encounter newly built watchtowers and a chain in the water. From the city, pots of pitch and stones are hurled at the attacking ships. Tyrion Lannister is prepared for this by filling several of Joffrey's ships with wildfire. When Stannis' fleet is lured further into the bay, Joffrey's ships pull back, and the wildfire is ignited. The river and most of the ships are engulfed in flames, destroying nearly all of Stannis' fleet. Many ships are trapped by the raised chain, but some, including about 30 to 40 galleys, manage to escape the fire. 8 ships land near the city walls, and many Myrish ships flee to the south bank. The victory at the Battle of the Blackwater secured King Joffrey's hold on the Iron Throne and cemented the Lannister-Tyrell alliance. Number 8. Battle of the Goldroad. This battle marks the first time Westeros saw a dragon fighting after hundreds of years. After sacking Highgarden, Jaime Lannister leads the remaining Lannister forces eastward, securing grain supplies across the Reach, while Daenerys, furious over her losses and disregarding Tyrion's cautious strategies, decides to take direct action by launching a surprise attack with her Dothraki horde and deploying her dragons in a bold, game-changing move against the Lannister army. Daenerys Targaryen, riding her dragon Drogon, ambushed the Lannister army as they were returning from sacking Highgarden and transporting their spoils along the Goldroad. The Lannisters, led by Jaime Lannister and Randyll Tarly, were caught off guard as Drogon unleashed a devastating wave of dragonfire upon the convoy, incinerating soldiers, wagons, and supplies. Despite a desperate attempt by Jaime to kill Daenerys, the battle ended in a decisive victory for the Targaryen, demonstrating the overwhelming power of dragons in warfare and striking fear into the hearts of Daenerys' enemies. Daenerys Targaryen has finally gained a firm foothold on the continent of Westeros. Number 9. Battle for the Wall. In the dead of night, as the Wall faces its greatest threat in centuries, Jon Snow and the Night's Watch must defend against an overwhelming force of wildlings in a battle that will determine the fate of the North. Lord Commander Jorah Mormont led a disastrous ranging beyond the Wall to investigate reports of missing wildlings and White Walkers. Mance Rayder, uniting the wildling tribes, saw the Night's Watch's losses as an opportunity to attack. He planned to lure the Watch from Castle Black with raids, then strike its weaker southern side while assaulting the Wall from the north. Jon Snow, infiltrating Mance's army, convinced the Watch to focus on defending Castle Black. Despite wildling raids and the sack of Mole's Town, the Night's Watch braced for Mance's imminent main assault. That night, the wildlings attack from the south while Mance Rayder's army, including giants on mammoths, advances from the north. Chaos erupts as the Night's Watch defends the castle and the wall. Jon Snow takes command when Jon O'Slint falters, while Sam releases Ghost to aid in the fight. Jon kills Styr in combat but loses Ygritte to an arrow from Olly. A giant nearly breaches the gate, but Grenn and his men defend it to the death. Despite their losses, the Night's Watch fends off the wildlings, capturing Torment. The arrival of Stannis Baratheon's forces turned the tide, delivering a decisive blow to the wildling army and saving the Wall from destruction. Stannis confronts Mance, demanding his submission, but Mance refuses. After learning of Jon Snow's connection to Eddard Stark, Stannis heeds Jon's advice to take Mance prisoner and burn the dead to prevent them from becoming whites. It was in this battle that Jon Snow showcases his leadership during the battle and earned him the position of Lord Commander. Number 10. Battle of Winterfell. In the dramatic clash at Winterfell, the Dothraki, led by Jorah Mormont and Ghost, charge against the Whites with flaming weapons ignited by Melisandre's Valyrian chants. Despite their fierce assault and the flaming barrage from catapults and trebuchets, the Dothraki are eventually overwhelmed and retreat to Winterfell. As the Whites surge forward, Daenerys and Jon, on their dragons, burn many of the undead before being separated by a blizzard conjured by the Night King. The defenders are pushed back into Winterfell, struggling to light a protective trench. Melisandre eventually succeeds in igniting it, but the Whites begin to smother the flames and breach the castle. Lyanna Mormont heroically kills an undead giant but dies in the process. The castle's interior is overrun, and key defenders like Beric Dondarrion fall. In the skies, Jon battles the Night King on Rhaegal, while Daenerys on Drogon attempts to fend off the Night King and his dragon, Viserion. Jon eventually engages the Night King directly, but the Night King reanimates all the dead, including those in the crypts. As the Night King heads to the Godswood to kill Bran, Arya manages to slip past the White Walkers and kills the Night King with a Valyrian steel dagger, shattering him into icy shards. This destroys the White Walkers, the Whites, and Viserion, ending the long night and the threat of the Night King. Despite the victory, the battle was a devastating loss. The Dothraki were nearly wiped out, the Unsullied suffered severe casualties, and key figures like Jorah perished, impacting Daenerys' army in her quest for Westeros. Number 11. Battle in the Ice. In his quest to claim the Iron Throne, Stannis Baratheon faces formidable challenges as he attempts to capture Winterfell, the stronghold of House Bolton. A severe snowstorm delays his advance, and Ramsey Bolton's sabotage further cripples his campaign by destroying siege engines, burning supplies, and killing horses. Under pressure from Melisandre, Stannis sacrifices his daughter Shireen to the Lord of Light in a desperate bid to lift the storm. But the act devastates his army's morale and leads to widespread desertion. With his forces dwindling and his wife Selyse committing suicide, Stannis is forced to continue his march to Winterfell on foot with a reduced army of 1,300 infantry. As Stannis Baratheon positions his forces for a dawn siege on Winterfell, Ramsey Bolton opts for a direct confrontation, leading House Bolton's cavalry to encircle and attack Stannis' weakened army from both flanks. Despite Stannis' stoic resistance, his rearguard flees before the battle even starts, and his vanguard quickly succumbs to the superior Bolton forces. Stannis retreats to the Wolfswood, where his remaining troops are ultimately destroyed. In the aftermath, Stannis is attacked and wounded by 2 Bolton soldiers, whom he manages to kill. The battle ended in a crushing defeat for Stannis, leading to his capture and execution. The battle in the ice marked the end of Stannis' campaign in the north and solidified the Boltons' grip on Winterfell, though their victory would be short-lived as House Stark rose once again. Number 12. Battle of the Bastards. After the Red Wedding event, House Bolton was made the ruling house of the North by the Iron Throne. To strengthen their position, they arranged a marriage between Ramsay Bolton and Sansa Stark, who later escaped to Castle Black with help from Theon Greyjoy. Following Sansa's escape and the birth of Rose Bolton's new son, his bastard son Ramsay, feeling threatened, murdered his father, stepmother, and newborn brother to secure his position. With the powerful Karstarks and Umbers siding with Ramsay Bolton due to their resentment towards Robb and Jon, respectively, Jon and Sansa Stark are left to seek support from the minor northern houses. They succeed in rallying the Free Folk, House Mason, House Hornwood, and House Mormont, but House Glover refuses to join them, citing animosity towards the Wildlings and bitterness over Robb's failure to protect them during Balon Greyjoy's invasion. Similarly, House Manderly declines to support the Starks. Despite gathering a number of allies, the coalition force is still heavily outnumbered by the Boltons. The battle begins with the Stark army positioned near a tree line to prevent a surprise attack from behind, facing the larger Bolton army, which has set up demoralizing markers with burning corpses. As a psychological tactic, Ramsay Bolton brings out Jon's half-brother, Rickon Stark, and kills him on the scene. Overcome with grief, Jon charges at the Bolton army alone, prompting Ramsay to order his archers to fire. The Stark cavalry charges in to support Jon, leading to a chaotic and brutal battle. Ramsay orders his archers to continue firing, killing both Stark and Bolton men. As the bodies pile up, they form a wall of the dead. Despite losing many men to friendly fire, Ramsay's sadistic strategy of sacrificing his own troops begins to trap the Stark forces. He then sends his remaining forces, led by Small Jon Umber, to encircle and box in the Stark army with a shield phalanx. The battle seemed lost until the timely arrival of the Knights of the Vale, led by Sansa Stark and Peter Baelish, who charged into the fray and broke the Bolton lines. Jon Snow then stormed Winterfell, confronted Ramsay, and defeated the Bastard in one of the most satisfying scenes in the series. Jon Snow successfully claimed the victory for House Stark, restoring their control over the North and marking the end of House Bolton, the long-term rival of House Stark. Number 13. The Second Battle of Tumbleton. This part will contain some spoiler for House of the Dragon Season 3. The battle followed the betrayal that led from the first Battle of Tumbleton, where Rhaenyra's forces were devastated. During the first Battle of Tumbleton, Sir Ulf White and Sir Hugh Hammer betrayed the market town, using dragons Vermithor and Silverwing to burn it before sacking the town and executing the surrendering blacks. On the night the Caltrops launched their coup against Ulf White and Hugh Hammer, Adam Valerion's 4,000 rivermen, though outnumbered, gained the upper hand with a surprise attack. Columns of knights and archers assaulted from multiple directions, while Seasmoke's dragonfire scorched the Green's camps and surviving buildings in Tumbleton. Ulf White slept through the chaos in the Body Badger Inn, while Hugh Hammer was killed by Lord John Roxton as he tried to mount Vermithor. Prince Darren the Daring perished near his camp, though the exact cause of his death remains uncertain. The Blacks attempted to kill the dragons Silverwing and Vermithor, but were unsuccessful. Vermithor, riderless, fought fiercely, killing knights and burning lords Stanton Piper and Lionel Deddings before engaging in combat with Seasmoke and Tessarion. Vermithor ultimately killed Seasmoke, but then collapsed and died. Tessarion, unable to fly, was mercy killed by Lord Blackwood's archer, Billy Burley. The battle concluded at dusk, leaving the Greens defeated. 3 of the 4 dragons died, with only Silverwing surviving. Apart from the losses in dragons, the battle was a decisive victory for the Blacks, with under 100 men lost compared to over 1,000 Greens killed despite their numerical superiority. Yet the Blacks' victory was incomplete as they failed to retake Tumbleton from the Greens' hand.